It's like the audio is good and everything. So yeah, man. Crazy weekend. Crazy weekend indeed. Really rough weekend for aviation. We had the meter in DC at National Airport. Then we had the Medevac Learjet, which crashed in Philly. Rough week. And then there was I think in Texas, there was a United aircraft which had a engine fire on a taxiway, I believe. People had to evacuate that. Crazy. And let's not forget, there was the F-35 that crashed in Greenland. So, and I believe the pilot was able to eject, but of course the aircraft was lost. Hey, man, aviation is very safe. Right? There are a bunch of professionals there, air traffic professionals, aviators like pilots, extremely professional, and even the folks who run the airports, the airport managers, and all that. But still, things happen. Things happen. So that, and we're gonna talk about that a little bit, guys. And I'll give you my takes on this DEI stuff and training and what it takes to be an air traffic controller, and then we'll talk about. I'll take your questions or whatever on that as well. If you guys have any questions, whatever, feel free to jump, throw them in there. But hey, man, there's going to be a lot of news because media is going to be watching aviation like a hawk, and you guys are just going to see which is normal routine stuff, but it's going to seem like big news to you guys. Like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. What's going on? The aviation is falling apart. No, hey, aviation is doing this thing and it's still very, very safe. But let's get into it. And we are live. What's good, y'all? Welcome, welcome, welcome to the I Really Want to Know podcast, y'all. Get some indeed. Whew, boy. Yep. So this is your chance, guys. Got any questions? Want to ask me about this? Now's the time to ask me. Looks like the FAA is here already. Hey, now, not us. Absolutely, y'all. That's funny. Give them a shout out. Dr. B in the building, bro. What's good, fam? Always a pleasure to see you, man. I hope you're well. Yeah, brother Michael Lee, Mr. Rec Use himself is in the building, man. It's like, brother, saying greetings. Like I said, Mr. Recreational Use himself is in the building. What's up, fam? Yeah, FAA is all in the news, bro. All in the news, 100%. I mean, why wouldn't it be? This is, you're talking about the worst accident involving a commercial airliner in over 16 years. Of course, you're going to be looking at this stuff. Of course. And then we'll get into, I'll share some of my stories of some of the things that I would see that were kind of routine, just air traffic control stuff. Not that it happened all the time routine, but you have so many emergencies and so many different situations and so many scenarios that air traffic controllers train for. So when it happens, we know what to do. And, we're going to talk about that. And I'm going to share some of those stories with you guys. And you'll be like, oh, and this is stuff that's happened over the past 20 plus years when I was an air traffic controller and you never heard about it. Why? Because that's the business. I'm pretty sure stuff that goes on in Dr. B's world that we never hear about. He's a doctor, he's a surgeon, he's out there doing his thing. There are things that goes on in the medical world that we just won't hear about. And that's, same for law enforcement, same for military, same for you name the industry. Just imagine the stuff that goes on the floor for people who are making cars and stuff like that. There has to be all kind of injuries, oil rigs and stuff like that. So we're going to get into it though. What's good, sis? How you feeling? Good to see you. We got Sister Nicole. So glad you can make it. Brother Michael wants to know, Chiefs or Eagles? I would like to see the Eagles win, but I ain't got a dog in that fight, bro. I'm an AFC dude, but the Chiefs get so much love from the referees, man. So many questionable calls and stuff like that. I would like to see the Eagles win, but I don't know, man. I think that it's going to be if it's a close game, I think the referees make it to where Patrick Mahomes gets another win in the Chiefs. But they got a good squad, man. They got some greats over there, bro. Got Travis Kelce, you know what I mean? Got Mahomes. I mean, they got some greats over there, bro. But I don't know, man. They get a lot of help, it seems to me, man. It seems to me. Thank you very much, Brother Michael. Yeah, happy Black History Month to you guys, too. The government can't celebrate Black History Month, at least not in the military. There was I guess, there was directive that came down. Like, we will not be celebrating Black History Month. Wow. Can't talk about the red tails, huh? That's crazy. Can't talk about the triple nickel. Wow. But hey, man, it is what it is, man. The political stuff is crazy. It is what it is. But we're not here to talk about that, man. We are here to talk about air traffic. So the video I want to use, and this will probably be a fairly quick show, guys. I doubt if we go too long, but who knows? Every time I say that, it turns into a marathon session. But The Hill, which is a news program, Rising the Hill, they were talking about this, and I have the video linked in the description below already if you guys want to check the whole thing out. It's about a 9-minute, 16-second video. We're going to watch just a few minutes of that. There's a pretty good part in here that I wanted to bring up, and I think that it'll really help us out here with what we're talking about. And then, so we'll talk about this first, and then we'll look at the medevac stuff. Or actually, you know what? I think we'll start with the medevac crash. We're still waiting on information for that, right? For those who don't know, I believe this was Friday. There was a medevac Learjet. Medevac Learjet, just think of an ambulance in the sky, right? So people who need to be transported for medical reasons, maybe they're incapacitated or need to get to a hospital or a facility fast. They put them on these jets. And there's different type of jets, right? They have helicopters as well. And then they'll take them to wherever they need to go. There'll be medical personnel on board, like nurses. If there needs to be a doctor or some sort of specialist, that person will be on board as well. And of course, you have the two pilots up front and then the folks in the back. The FAA confirmed there were 6 people on board. I would imagine that includes, of course, the patient. That I would imagine. So the aircraft took off from an airport near Philadelphia. I forget which airport. And then moments after departure, like the airplane took off, everything was fine. The air traffic tower controller instructed the pilot to contact departure control, which is the radar guys, the next controller. And the departure controller never spoke to the aircraft. The aircraft just disappeared, came off of radar. And it turns out that the aircraft fell out of the sky, crashed in a residential area in Philadelphia. So there were injuries on the ground, of course. I believe there was at least 1 fatality on the ground. I think it was a total of 7 fatalities, and we knew it was 6 people on board the aircraft. So at least 1 fatality on the ground. Horrible situation. Double-digit fatalities out there. I think it was over 20 people who were hurt. The FAA is currently investigating this incident as well. So they're working on what's going on in D.C. and they're working on what's going on in Philly. Now, a lot of people are like, well, what do you think happened? Obviously, there was some sort of catastrophic failure with the aircraft that caused the airplane to go down. Simple as that. Something happened. Airplanes, generally, when something happens, especially when the airplanes are flying, you normally will be able to, well, I ain't gonna say normally. Ideally, you will want to be able to level that aircraft out, just get some sort of stabilized flight, figure out what the issue is, and then figure out what you're going to do to solve the issue. But it looked like this aircraft was climbing out, and then it just began a descent, a rapid descent. So that tells me that something horribly wrong on that aircraft. Something mechanical will be my guess. But we won't know until they get all the information and see what inputs were made. This is why the black boxes, which are orange in color, are so important, to find out exactly what happened. They want to listen to the transmissions, which they've already done between air traffic control and the pilot. And then hopefully they'll be able to listen to what was being said back and forth between the two pilots in the front of the plane. Something like this, man, it doesn't even make sense to speculate at this point. And I'll give you guys a story. This was at Van Nuys. I wasn't there that day. I was in Vegas, but we saw the story. Being a bunch of buddies of mine, all of us were traffic controllers. We all worked at Van Nuys. we all went to Vegas. We take Vegas trips all the time. So we're all in Vegas. We wake up the next morning, turn on the television, and all over the news is there was this airplane crash near the Van Nuys Airport. So we woke up to that, like, uh-oh, right? So apparently what happened was, and I never read the final reports. You could probably go find it if I was go back and look. And this would have been like the early 2000s. Citation takes off, Citation jet takes off from Van Nuys, small Citation, like a 560 or something like that. Yeah, I think maybe a 501, one of the smaller Citations, takes off. And there's a very experienced pilot, a guy with thousands and thousands of hours, former captain of air carriers. I think he flew big airplanes. And the guy next to him, low time pilot who was just getting into the game and is trying to build up his hours, and he's hopefully trying to get himself into a position with one of the airliners. So that's what you have. And that's how aviation works, bro. There's so many ways to get there. And this is a guy who became a pilot, was doing what he had to do, was building up his hours, probably networked himself into a situation where he could kind of fly these smaller jets and get more experience and get better. So he's flying next to a very experienced pilot. See this all the time. So allegedly, the low time pilot, the rookie pilot, was flying. They're climbing out. Off the departure end, climbing out, normal stuff. All of a sudden, the cargo doors in the front of the plane. So like with these smaller jets, the cargo doors are like, the cargo areas are all over. Like in this particular Citation, there was cargo area in the nose of the aircraft. So there are doors to kind of flip up on it like that. And you put stuff in there, clothes and whatnot, little bags, not a big area. It's like, just think of it as like a small trunk on either side of the nose. And then you secure the covers and lock down the hatches or whatever. Well, these things popped up. So they're climbing out. These things popped up. The rookie pilot got nervous and allegedly chopped the power. So basically, he just instead of having throttle and maybe putting more throttle, he pulled all the power back, and allegedly that caused the engines to turn off. Now, when you're trying to climb out, you need speed to climb. You need that power to get you where you need to go. So when this guy allegedly chopped the power because you just made a mistake, it was some sort of impulse before the experienced pilot could stop him. The aircraft could do nothing but nose down and crash. And again, this is all alleged. I haven't read we were reading the report in the tower months after this happened, preliminary reports, but I never read the final. So that aircraft went down the backyard of someone like really close to the Van Nuys Airport. And of course, the two pilots on board did not survive. That's one example. That made the news locally in Van Nuys, of course. That was in Southern California. So that made like LA news. It was on CNN for like a quick second. And then that was it. Didn't hear anything else about it. Right. Again, so rare to have these type of accidents and incidents in that field. It just doesn't happen every single day where it ends in fatalities. But you do have incidents where airplanes need to land. There's emergencies on board. There's incidences where landing gear, like, having a bad landing gear indication, that happens all the time. People on minimum fuel, that's a problem. That happens sometimes. There are all sorts of things that can go wrong, and oftentimes they do. But the air traffic controllers, along with everyone else in the industry, are there to help. That's why the air traffic controllers are there, bro. Like, we keep the airplanes from flying into each other, but when something goes wrong, we're the ones to help out. And I just wanted to share that story with you guys so like this sort of thing happens.